Interesting. So there is something that I normally find kind of offensive. That was what you quoted when you started. The saying that if you want to hide anything from an African, hide it in the, put it in the book. And I tried to look for the origin of that saying, and some even claim that it was Martin Luther King, but there was no proof to that. But what others are pointing to is that it's such a derogatory, remark, for Africans, looking at, because it kind of perpetuates harmful stereotypes and undermines the rich intellectual traditions and diversity across the African continent. What's your reaction? Do you cringe every time you hear this? Or is it actually a maxim? Is it a true statement when they say, if you want to hide anything from an African, you can't put $1 in a book for me, and I won't find it?
It's actually worrisome, and it's not palatable at all to hear.
But is it true?
It's not true. I don't believe in that. What we say also, even in Nigeria, we say the reading culture, some will say is dead, some will say the reading culture is dying. In Nigeria and Africa, we read. It's not that we don't read, but what do we read these days? When our age were young, when we were in schools, we compete for how many T.S. books have you read? How many Miss books have you read? How many pages have you read? In fact, personally, I read dictionary as if I read novels.
That's right.
So, but these days, we have so many things competing with our attention. With the phones, the gadgets, electronic gadgets are there. And so when you are on the phone, you are also reading. But what are you reading? How impactful is what you are reading on the phone to you and to the environment? And so we are out to ensure that the reading culture is revived. The government have been trying for quite some time. You remember during our President Oluwatuyi Jonathan, that was the maxim of bring back the book. But when you are bringing back the book, do you get the stakeholders involved? So our government policies, sometimes as good as they are, when the stakeholders are not involved, you won't get to the the basis. You won't understand even the problems. So we have this Nigerian Book Fair annually, and this year is going to be the 23rd edition. Book fair are held all over the world. And if you visit any other countries, especially in the developed countries, you see it's a big event. It's a government thing. So we are thanking our government that they are now coming into participating with us, into collaborating with us to ensure that we are also achieving a milestone.
Right, and I see that in one of your past editions, you focused on e-reading, how that perhaps, is it a rival now? Is it a good rival in this quest for a better reading culture in Nigeria? And you said something about that people are reading now, but what are they reading and where are they reading it from? Are they reading from, of course, more people are reading, from their phones, are reading all sorts from their phones as against hard copies. And, this book fair that you're planning, what even, generally, do you see that as an advantage, this issue of e-reading culture as against the hard copy reading culture? Can they work together?
Sure, they are working together, and they have to work together because the world itself, human beings, we are all evolving, and there's development here and there. So if you don't move with trends, you'll be left behind. The hard book is set, and it will stay for a long time. I'm not sure whether it will go, ever. But the e-books is also here. So they are cohabiting, and we are ensuring that, because for our children, they find it easy to use the tablets, to use the phone. So you have to get their attention through that. And so for the phone, the tablet, the system, they can also accommodate so many information at the same time. So you can carry a phone and you are carrying about 1,000 books, whereas physically you can't carry. However, it's not that convenient for many to also read from the phone or from the laptop. You have to use your glasses and it affects your brain sometimes. So, but they are cohabiting because information has to get to the people, has to get to the end users. Especially in the university, you have the databases whereby researchers goes to and then do the research. And then you still have the hard copy journals. You have the hard copy books on the shelves. So they are cohabiting and they will continue to do. I believe that there's no problem with that. And also in Nigeria, we're also stepping up to that. our publishers are also now doing e-books. We are getting our books on e-resources and all that, so that schools also can have it in their systems, in their databases, and then children can also access it.
And I think one of the reading culture is where history comes in, and being able to document our own history. As if you ask, the younger generation, even most of us sitting on this table, we know more of the history. We can talk to you about what happened in Greece, what happened in Athens, what happened, back in the years, based on some of the books that we read. And a Senegalese proverb actually says, an old man die in Africa is like a library set ablaze. And this speaks to the documentation of our own history, of our own heritage. How do you think we are faring in this regard in helping the coming generation understand the kind of culture and the diversity we have, not only in Nigeria, but on the African continent?
Yes, we are aware of this, and that's why the National Library of Nigeria, in collaboration with stakeholders in the industry, we also have the network of book clubs and reading promoters in Nigeria. A number of associations coming together to ensure that what we read, we also learn about our environment. I just got a list from one of our consolidators in Europe and UK, and books in Nigeria were published by a publisher in London. About 20 titles. I was shocked. Nigerian titles by Nigerian authors published abroad. So I traveled recently, and I was coming back, and I stopped at Heathrow Airport, and I met a Chinese woman, and she was telling me history of Nigeria and Africa. She was telling me she has visited about 84 countries, and she was telling me why Nigeria. So I was shocked.
These were accurate accounts.
Accurate, yes, accurate accounts. So what we are saying now is that we should write books about our own culture. We have the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals book clubs, and we have the African chapter. I'm a management team of the African chapter. We are selecting books that are written on a cultural base, based on the 17 goals, and we are now sending them to schools. Schools are adopting them, not on chemistry, but general reading, so that the children will know the culture and imbibe it. Just like you have said, if I'm reading a book about Kano, I will feel like I'm in Kano, and I will know the culture of the people in the north. Yeah. If I'm reading about a book written on Port Harcourt, for instance, and I'm in Lagos, I also feel like I'm there. So when people are talking, I can reason, I can connect. So we are using this, and we are also at the USDG book club African chapter, we are also getting authors to write based on the 17 goals, but written by Nigerian or African authors, so that the children can really connect to our culture. So we are aware of this deficiency, and we are also stepping into it. The National Library of Nigeria, especially the current CEO, Professor Chinwe Anunobi, is really very, very particular about this.
Right, but back to your earlier point.